Now that Vice President Kamala Harris has secured the endorsement of Barack Obama, nearly every major leader in the Democratic Party is now behind her candidacy. But this election cycle, some critical support is coming not from the world of politics, but from the world of pop. Beyonce has already given Harris permission to use her anthem Freedom out on the campaign trail. Of course, you've heard that. Olivia Rodrigo appeared to offer her endorsement earlier this week. British pop star Charlie XCX pledged her support in this post referencing her latest hit album, Brat. That sparked a slew of viral videos produced in the style of that album. This one has more than 4 million views, but it's not the only one going viral.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
All right, for more on the coconut trees and the context, let's discuss with Time senior correspondent and author of The Ones We've Been Waiting For, Charlotte Alter, Executive Director of Voters for Tomorrow, Santiago Mayer, Washington Post senior video reporter David Jorgensen, also known as the Washington Post TikTok guy, and co-founder of Betches Media, Sami Sage. I'm pronouncing that as best as I can without getting myself in trouble. She's also the author of Democracy in Retrograde. Guys, thanks so much. Really appreciate this. Santiago, you have an exclusive preview of what Kamala Harris will say to your organization tomorrow. Let's take a listen to that.
In this election, we know young voters will be key, and we know your vote cannot be taken for granted. It must be earned, and that is exactly what we will do.
Yeah, I mean, Santiago, I'll start with you. I mean, is all of this energy that we're seeing, all the stuff that is going crazy online and so on, is that going to translate into votes, do you think?
For sure. First of all, thank you, Jim, so much for having me. I think what we're seeing right now is Gen Z is incredibly excited for Vice President Harris, and we are ready to get to work and elect her. As you saw, we have a special message from her for the Voters Tomorrow Summit, which is in Atlanta starting later today. And we're gathering 300 young leaders from across the country to come together, strategize, and figure out how we are going to break the 2020 record with youth voter turnout. And we're turning young voters out to elect Vice President Harris and to defeat Donald Trump.
And Charlotte, a new poll shows Harris pretty much just vastly outperforming Biden right now with young voters by 16 percentage points. That's according to this latest New York Times Siena College poll. What is stirring this excitement? I mean, I think I remember at the time when she made that comment about the context in which we all live. And so, I mean, people were, criticizing that as being a bit of a word salad. But, I've heard from a lot of younger folks over the last several days who just love that comment. So, I mean, is it just like the older folks not getting what the younger folks are thinking these days? What do you think?
So I don't, it's a great question. I don't actually think it has very much to do with that comment at all. I think we've seen since 2016 in the 2018 midterms, in the 2020 election, and then in the 2022 midterms as well, young voters do not like Trumpism. Millennials and Gen Z are not very attracted to MAGA at all. Instead, the problem for this administration in this race has been that these younger voters weren't particularly attracted to Joe Biden either. And you would see in the polling over the course of this whole year, younger voters saying over and over again, we want somebody else. We want somebody else. We don't want these same two old white guys over and over again. Not just any old white guys, the same two old white guys who ran last time. You'd see that over and over in the polling. And I think that what this polling shift signifies is that these young voters just wanted somebody else. They wanted somebody new, somebody fresh, somebody who could credibly claim to help to be speaking to some of their issues. And I think the Harris campaign is attempting to provide that to these voters.
Yeah, I mean, they're really exploiting this moment, no question about it. And Sami, after seeing all of these videos, Kamala Harris herself just joined TikTok. Here's her first post.
Madam Vice President, are you on TikTok?
Well, I've heard that recently I've been on the For You page, so I thought I'd get on here myself.
All right, Sami, how big of a deal is that?
It's a huge deal. I think there's this misconception that TikTok is only for young people, but there are all age demographics that are represented on TikTok. And I think what people who are not really users of the app might miss about it is that it does have its own specific language and vibe. And Kamala Harris has a very authentic, way of presenting herself that really makes sense with the way that TikTok users, connect with things that go viral on the app. I think that we're really seeing the effects of, like Charlotte said, young people, and I think really any demographic that is not up to the boomers. They really want a younger, fresher vibe to be in the election, and she has brought it to us.
Yeah, and Dave, I mean, Trump is on TikTok. He's had about 6 posts. They have millions of views. I mean, that is one thing that has been happening on TikTok. I think it's one of the reasons why the Trump people don't want to ban TikTok now, because, I mean, MAGA is out there in full force on TikTok. Can you talk about that and what Kamala Harris is up against in terms of social media? And she's certainly making a lot of strides over the last week. There's no question about it.
Right, and the majority of Gen Z and millennials on TikTok tend to be liberal leaning, but there has been a huge influx of Trump supporters on the app that we've seen. We've been on the app as the Washington Post since 2019, and definitely there's been a movement that way a little bit, but it is coming back a little bit. And I think part of that is in the last year or so, what happened with Biden is it really became this whole thing where the way he handled the war in Gaza, a lot of people on TikTok did not like that. And while the tone of our coverage stayed the same, I noticed in the comment sections there was a lot more people that were not as excited about Biden as they used to be for a lot of the reasons that Charlotte just gave. And the other part of this is that he signed off on the TikTok ban. So I think for Harris, being on TikTok is really big, and also just sort of as much as she can or is able to, distancing herself from how Biden has handled Gaza, as well as the ban on TikTok. And her just posting there alone is a really big deal. I've also seen a lot of people talk about how is she going to embrace these memes. I think there's sort of two schools of thoughts. You can, do all the memes that people are doing and try to replicate them, but you also want to come across as authentic. And I think the first video she posted does that because it's just her talking to the camera, and that can be really successful. As long as people feel like she's coming across as herself on TikTok, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, and Santiago, how can Kamala Harris lean into these viral moments Dave was just talking about a few moments ago, and avoid the trap of what the young people call cringe, which, even somebody of advanced age like myself, I know what that means. I'm also capable of cringe moments myself, but how does the candidate not fall into that trap?
Well, I think that Dave hit the nail on the head. I think that as long as she remains true to who she is, she will be just fine. And I think that's really why we're seeing sort of a social media movement that we're seeing behind her, because she is very relatable. She is fun. You were showing some of the videos with the Brat music. And at the end of the day, what is being a brat if not being true to yourself and real and authentic? And I think that as long as that continues to be the case, as long as she's not doing anything that she's not perceived to be true to herself, she's going to be fine. I think she is someone who comes across as very fun, as very engaging, as very relatable. I can tell you that's been my experience with her whenever I've interacted with her. And she is someone who really cares about people and is sort of like a cool aunt in a lot of ways. So I think as long as that continues to be the message and that continues to be the image, the memes are going to continue to be successful, and the campaign is going to continue to lean into it.
Yeah, and Sammy, one of the things that I've noticed is, Trump has been going after Kamala Harris, saying she's laughing Kamala and so on. But, a lot of these viral videos, these mashups that you see out there at the coconut tree and the context and so on, there are a lot of clips of her laughing. And, I mean, it seems like a lot of young people find that to be kind of a fun thing.
Yeah, I don't really understand what the benefit of leaning into being joyless is, especially when you look at some of the clips of his own vice presidential pick. But I think that this is very appealing to young people, and the Trump campaign is making a mistake if they think that, promoting her laugh is going to lose her votes.
Yeah. Charlotte, what do you think? I mean, I guess the contrast with Kamala Harris, and Sammy mentioned this, is J.D. Vance's rollout on social media perhaps not going quite as well as maybe Republicans, younger Republicans, would have liked.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point about how Harris has kind of been leaning into sort of some of her joyfulness is going to go a really, really long way here. I mean, listen, like I said before, for years, this race has been stuck in this dynamic of these two old guys who everybody knew already before, right? And look at what we're doing here. We're here in the news business. It's called the news business, not the heard it before business. So
Yeah.
I think there's a real opportunity for the Harris campaign to introduce herself to a population of voters who are sick of the options they already had.